Yo, welcome back, everybody, to the pit on this Thursday. Coming up on the holiday season. We've got Z back in the house. We've got Satoshi. We've got Gunny, co-founder over at Hxro, myself, RT at RandomTask555 on Twitter. It's Victory Lap season, baby, and we are back.
Facts.
And as we wrap up the year,
Ansem.
As we wrap up
One
the year,
lap around the house, bro.
I've been running around New York like a crackhead.
You know, on that note, let's just take a pause for a sec. Take that lap, homie. Take that,
dude.
lap.
Nailed it.
Nice, bro.
Dude, it's that time of year.
Pretty spot on.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that $17 dip. I mean, we timed the stream immaculately back down in what was that? I guess July. Was it July? September.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's been a fun ride over the last few months, and we've got the end of the year coming up. So let's talk a little bit about predictions. It's a nice time of year. We're getting a lot of interesting predictions over on Twitter. I love that kind of stuff. It's a lot of forward-looking thinking from a lot of very smart people. So we want to dive into some of that today. There's like L1 mania going on. It's like dive into as many sketchy bridges and stuff that you can find and get into some early stuff. And I know you've been dabbling on other chains as well, as has, you know, Toast and that. So yeah, let's get after it. What have you what are you looking at right now? What does it feel like right now in the market? What are you feeling?
Bro, it feels manic. Like literally it feels manic. It feels like I've been saying it's like Q4 2020. That's probably, or like 2021, some combination of that. It feels the most similar to that to me. When people were like bridging between all the different L1s, like buying the first DEX, first meme coin, like buying shit coins. And literally every dip that happens in the market will be like a flash crash, 20%, liquidate all the open interest, and then shit just rips back up because there's so much latent demand of people, like sideline people. Like every single dip on the leading alts just gets smash bid. It's insane. Like Injective, Celestia, Solana, honestly, like it's been sideways for a bit. It led the first part of the rally, but like even that first rally on Solana, it was like every dip just got 8 all the way from like 20 to 80. And I think it's because a lot of people weren't positioned yet. Like we're expecting this year to be bad, just generally market wise, and thought we were going to get lower. Like I saw a lot of people posting we're going to get $5, $8 Solana again when it was at like $20. So a lot of people were not positioned. And especially because ETH has such a large market cap, it's like there's so much that can come from that where people don't have positions in other L1s. That's like how these moves happen. And I think retail,
there's a lot of ETH bags to dump, dude.
Facts.
Mm-hmm.
A ton.
Are there a good amount of ETH bags that are lower in the last 12 months? Like, is there like possible like loss harvesting going on?
I don't know about that. I know YFI is definitely lower than it was in the last 2 months.
Yeah, I mean the ETH DeFi stuff hasn't broken out really yet. They've been kind of just like sideways, but you can just tell like Ethereum's been pretty much chopping around while all the altcoins do like 4 or 5x. Like
it's made it so hard for me to trade ETH. It reminds me of like when I traded equities. Like you could always like lead lag, like trade everything else, like the more volatile stuff off of Microsoft. But if you ever tried to trade actually trade Microsoft, like you would get your fucking ass handed to you. It's also like trading S&P 500 futures. Like there's so many markets that you can trade lead lag off of that. But when you actually try to trade the SPOOs directly, it becomes 100 times harder. I said that I feel like that's where I feel like ETH is right now.
Well, I think this Solana rally really shook things up. It's shaken sort of a fundamental understanding of crypto, which is that Bitcoin rallies and then ETH rallies, and then the other stuff gets to have its turn. And in this case, we saw Bitcoin rally, and then we saw Solana rally, and ETH really has lagged. The top ETH plays have lagged. Naturally, though, there's a lot larger float on some of those bags and heavier bags, whereas a lot of this like soul shit coins were just living in a trench that had never been anything but a trench. So obviously there was like a little lighter lift, but I think people are really rethinking the theses around right now, as far as like ETH is always going to be the chain. ETH is the centerpiece. It still is. but it's kind of shattered that assumption for a lot of people, and now it's kind of like, holy shit. And I've seen a lot of .eths that are like, yo, real talk, I tried Solana, and it's actually like really smooth and really sick, and like the arbs, like everything. So it's going to be interesting to see how the meta emerges or evolves here this year.
Z, what do you make of, like, because the conventional knowledge was always like Bitcoin runs, then ETH runs, then alts run, and then it became like Bitcoin, large caps, mid caps, low caps. But it seems like it's been like Bitcoin and alts and Sol, and like even low caps are running. There's no like, it just feels like there's no real rhyme or reason to that rotation anymore. What do you make of that?
I mean, the market is so much more mature now. So like in previous cycles, it was like Bitcoin would go and then all alts would go at the same time.
Right.
But now I think there's more differentiation in the market because these altcoins actually have fundamentals now. There's different things that you can bet on, like the AI coins you can bet on, the decentralized physical infrastructure stuff you can bet on. All these different L1s have different fundamental narratives behind them. Like Solana, that mispricing was like one of the most obvious things to me, and a lot of people didn't see it. But it's like there's that information asymmetry that just happens in crypto because a lot of people don't do as deep research as they can. So like you have those situations in the market where it's like some people just don't see things that are clearly evidently mispriced, and that happens with a lot of, hard for me to keep up with everything. Like in Cosmos, there's probably like 10 different chains that I'm trying to track right now that I also think like could be mispriced. And I'm trying to like do my research there to make sure I'm not behind on stuff. But there's just so many more coins now than there was back then. I don't think you really need Bitcoin to go first. And if you think even last cycle, like DeFi summer in 2020, that happened before Bitcoin went to all-time high. Like all that yield farming with Wi-Fi, Compound, Uniswap, Aave, all that stuff rips like 100x, whatever it was from the lows before Bitcoin was even at 20K. Bitcoin was still at 10K in like Q3, Q4 2020. So Bitcoin last cycle didn't even really lead.
I kind of am there too. I don't think it was that great conventional wisdom last cycle, and it certainly is blown out of the fucking water this, with this.
It's dude, definitely a shift.
100%.
It's like when Hisaka was like, it usually goes like this. I have no idea where the fuck we are right now. Like he was like, this is not the normal rotation, pace.
I mean, I was gonna say, to be fair, Bitcoin did lead this year in many ways. I mean, Solana, I remember because I bought it in January and it 2x'd off the lows quicker than anything else, but then it like sucked for the better part of the year up until really like mid-September. And and in a way, like Bitcoin did really lead the charge, and obviously the ETF news is driving the bus right now, but it's losing its grip. And like you said, it's just turning into this much more mature market, much more like there's just a plethora of stuff going on. I can't follow it. Ordinals, forget about it. Like I'm just trying to stay in my lane. Like, because if it's like the guy is carrying too many dishes and then you just fall over and you blow up. Like
what's different from last cycle where it's like you don't want to be spread too thin. And I was gonna say this to you pre-stream, RT, is that like, yes, that's true. If I weren't trying to play other things, I would be consolidated in like what or to meet guaranteed 10x's, 20x's like TIA, but there's so many opportunities for airdrops, like getting in early with eco NFTs, where like you need to have a foot in the door to qualify for like future 100x's,
I'm sure
you gotta be on top of your shit, dude. Like there's so much going on in the market now. Like the amount of people who missed the Jito airdrop is insane. Like that was one of the most obvious plays I've seen in a long time, and a ton of people just missed it because they were like, no, fuck Solana. Okay, all right, bro. Like, I guess
I'll do you one better. I love Solana and I missed it.
Mr. Solana missed it.
Yo, I'm hanging out in Solana and I missed it.
I've seen you take a lot of well-deserved, moments of pause to say like, yo, I called this. A lot of people, big upping you. But what I haven't seen, I've seen a dearth of a victory lap for calling TIA fucking 2 years ago. right? Like no one's mentioning that, but you literally in your Q4 research report, it was a Q4 or Q3 of 21, called TIA, were bullish on it before anyone even knew there would be a token.
Yeah, that's honestly like that's one of my best calls because I couldn't even bet on it yet. I was like, I know. I was like, you guys are talking about ETH moving to modular data availability. I'm like, okay, but when ETH does that, all these L2s are gonna have tokens, and I'm like, if you're doing this modular landscape, to me, the most ideal way to build that is you build everything from the ground up in the most ideal way possible. Like if you're gonna do a modular, okay, build the best execution layer, build the best data availability layer, build the best settlement layer. You would do that without any other tech debt in your system. And I'm like, why is nobody talking about Celestia? I'm literally going through all the ETH guys like posts. I'm like, why is nobody talking about Celestia? And then that's when I was like late 2021.
Yeah.
I only think they had done their Series A yet, but I was like, yeah, whenever this shit launches, this shit is gonna fucking rip. And I still have all my threads of arguing with people like why is nobody talking about this? I'm like, what do you mean?
That's definitely what put it on my radar and what got me so bullish on it after the airdrop when it was like consolidating and it broke out of that consolidation. I told someone in the pit, I was like, Tia's going to $6. And he was like, yeah, sure. But like right now? And I was like, yes. And then like sure enough it just shot to 6, and then that guy who was fading it then got in after it broke back out from 6 and was like 14, and now we're here.
It's being very polite. It's being very polite to the TA bros right now because it has basically ripped up, dipped through this pump chaser zone, which is kind of like if I want to jump on board of a coin and it's ripping, like it's going to visit this level eventually. Like worst case, it's going to just tag and go. And this thing just lived through it, ripped to the next extension levels, dipped through it last week, and now it's just ripping higher. And I imagine it'll stall out around the 15, 16, and then maybe we could just do it again. So it's been a trader's dream if you like the fibs and you watch our videos and trade the way we trade.
It's been beautiful.
Yeah.
I think
that's how I got the $6 target was chaos level.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's gonna happen with a lot of the new Cosmos launches that people are not paying attention to. Like when TF dropped, nobody even knew what it did. They're like, can we buy shit coins on Celestia? I'm like, bro, have you all even like read about what this shit does? Like, Jesus Christ. So I know
the operative word is read there.
So people just don't know either, and they're gonna rip too once people figure out what they do.
What's the first dog coin on?
Nobody really reads the crypto. Let's face it.
It's a fact. No, it's a fact.
Show me a leaderboard. Point me towards the thing that's up double digits, and I'm bullish on it.
Correct. Exactly.
What Z? What do you think? Like, because I've been hearing people talk about like you got to stake TIA, but then in my mind, I'm like, who's gonna airdrop to TIA stakers? Do you have an opinion on that?
Yeah, so I think a lot of people will actually. So Celestia's entire MO is like roll-ups building on Celestia because there's no smart contracts on the chain. There's like the sovereign roll-ups, and there's going to be roll-ups that use Celestia for data availability and then use some other chain for settlement. And all the roll-ups that launch on Celestia, it's probably likely that they airdrop to TIA stakers.
Yeah, that was my only hope, was like someone's going to build on this and then like rain on the TIA stakers.
Yeah, I think that's probably what's going to happen. That thesis makes sense to me. Like, I don't know why roll-ups who are launching on Celestia would not airdrop to like TIA stakers. I don't know why they wouldn't do that.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That rocks.
This is the time. I mean, it's, I like to say, like, I still have this image in my head of like 24, 25 going through a cycle, and how far we've come already kind of throws a wrench in that. I'm like, well, yeah, but my point is like early in a cycle, if that's what you want to call this, still mentally for me it is, but is really like we were talking this morning in the pit, like staking right now, locking even, not as terrible as an idea as this previous bear market has taught us, right? Because often it's the high yields and the insane stuff going on at the top of the bull that gets everyone to lock into shit. And then they spend 2 years or a year getting wrecked. I'm actually in this position right now where I'm just trying to bang out doubles, get that free position, and then stuff it into something like a TS stake lockup, whatever. Like, I don't think you have to lock it maybe 21 days unlock or whatever.
21 day on stake, bro. You could throw $500 in on a single wallet and qualify for airdrops. Like, so you don't even have to really spread yourself thin. Like, you throw TIA, Injective, like maybe DYDX, I doubt it. Like, a lot of these Cosmos, like that's the Cosmos narrative, is stake for airdrops.
And I've done a bit of that with like Secret got Shade last year. That was a good one, or 2 years ago. And so we've done a bit of that, but yeah, trying to get these free positions, get them into these staked Kepler wallets. And then even looking at some lockups, like there's some pretty juicy things you can get from locking up. And I guess my point is, I don't know about like this month, this was way more true 2 months ago, but I'm still of the opinion that some of these lockups for the next 2 years are actually going to be pretty beneficial, pretty juicy.
Now's the best time to do it. I mean, honestly, like it's way way worse to do it towards the end of bull markets, but now we're honestly in like the best time to be doing that.
I still do not fuck with locking up tokens as much, but definitely staking, even if there's like a cooldown period.
Yeah, I try to avoid the locks, but sometimes.
Yeah, but it's like it's all about your basis, right? And then you can like you're measuring your return based on like I have this like principal, basically this principal investment. I've gotten something out of it. Maybe I've taken some off the table where it's like my cost basis is I'm basically free rolling, and now you're staking it early, getting the price appreciation plus the growth in yields, right? Yeah, and then that growth in yields on your basis is like the return is actually like fucking exponentially higher.
Yeah, on God, the only lock token I have is Hxro.
I may or may not have a little of that locked up myself.
Keep going, keep going.
Yeah. I did want to ask you, Z, in terms of the Cosmos eco, like you've been bullish on it in the past. Like your research reports have generally trended towards like being bullish Cosmo. But we see this new wave of Cosmos like chains coming in against the incumbents. Kind of walk me through like how you're thinking about Cosmos eco in terms of the incumbents versus the new chains. How do you think those dynamics play out? Are you still bullish Atom? Like those kinds of things.
Yeah, I'm not as bullish Atom. I think that the newer chains that are going to launch in the Cosmos that have kind of done a good job of forming their own identity, I think are going to do the best ones this cycle. Honestly, like my favorite Cosmos chain that isn't out yet is Dimension. So Dimension is like the same way that Celestia is aiming to be a modular layer for data availability. They like want to be the cheapest thing for rollups to post data to. Dimension aims to be a modular settlement layer and utilize IBC to make it easy for rollups to launch with their Dime. I think it's their Dime SDK. So like they basically, their thing is roll apps. Like every rollup that wants to launch in the Cosmos, they want to like build the SDK for rollups to launch easily, and either use Celestia for data availability or something else for data availability, and then settle on Dimension. So the cool thing about Celestia is it makes it cheap for rollups to post their data to the network, but you still need a chain to settle to. So I think it's going to be likely that a lot of these Cosmos rollups that launch are going to choose to settle on Dimension or some other settlement layer in the Cosmos rather than doing it on Ethereum. And we'll see if I'm right about that. But I think what's more likely is the ones that already exist and are already like using Ethereum or DA and settlement will probably still use Ethereum for settlement. But in the future, the newer rollups that launch in the Cosmos, I think are going to use Celestia and Dimension. So that's like one of my picks for next year that isn't out yet. But then there's
always like, you got so early, it's not even on the Cosmos ecosystem app under development. Where do you find this stuff? Where do you go looking?
Well, dude, I found Dimension same time I found Celestia. Like at the same time. Wow. They were like around at the same time. But nobody pays attention to the Cosmos chain. So it's like I'm basically competing with nobody when I'm doing my research over there because nobody's looking at that stuff.
It's true. It's a weird kind of silo. Like it's its own island and it's got a lot going on over there. But it's for me the gap too. I've been over there. I've staked a few things in Kepler Wallet, but I don't live there and I don't visit very often. But I have a feeling I'll circle back over there after chatting with you today.
Yeah, pull up if you want to look at a chart that nobody's talking about. Pull up the Neutron chart.
Oh, Neutron. There's
the
someone
ticker?
in the pit who's been shilling Neutron for the past like 3 or 2, whenever it came out, like he started shilling.
NTRN.
Yeah.
It's fucking ripping.
It's
20%
doing very well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I don't even know what the market cap is. I don't think
It
it's
looks well. Yeah, I don't think it's $1 billion. My guess is it's not $1 billion on 126K liquidity.
Yeah, but so Neutron is the first chain to use what is it? To use the Cosmos
22
Hub.
Oh,
It's like what is it? It's a consumer chain that uses the Cosmos Hubs validators. So it's like the first shared security, I think, chain like in Cosmos, and that's been ripping too. That's cool.
Yeah.
Sommelier is cool.
Is this
Astro's
the one?
cool.
Do I have the right one? Neutron Osmo? Like this is
That is, yeah. If it's paired with Osmo, it's the
yeah, but
Cosmos.
it's super low liquidity, and I'm not.
Well, you're
finding the
looking
right
at
one.
on osmosis.
Yeah.
And that's a little bit of alpha for anyone. Like Osmosis has yet to reflate its liquidity very much. And Osmo is going fucking nuts. I put TIA against Osmo in an LP, and I expected it to just like I'll end up with a shitload of Osmo. Wrong. Like I have more TIA than I put in now because of how hard Osmo is ripping against it. And
there we go.
That in general, all of these new Cosmos chains, even if the dynos don't run, like even if you don't get a Juno or an Atom run, you're still going to get an Osmosis run because as they go up, that the pools rebalance and it goes into Osmo.
Yeah. Astro is another good one too. Astroport.
Yeah.
They're probably like the second biggest DEX in Cosmos.
I was part of the lock drop, bro. I'm an Astro OG. Yeah.
Dude, bro, I loved Astro, and Astro was on Luna back in the day. I printed off Astro, bro. And then
I'm like looking up random tickers as you guys talk about shit, but I have a feeling Astro is actually not a token. It's like a DEX. Is a token? Where do you find it?
DEX. Astroport's a DEX. Yeah.
It's a DEX on multiple chains.
Ooh. Astro Swap.
It's on TradingView. I don't know if it's on where it's out on DEX screen.
Yeah.
Because it's not on Osmosis because it's like a competing DEX.
Are there any Cosmos dinos you're bullish on, like from last cycle?
Yeah,
AKT. Yeah, Akash for sure.
Of course.
What's another good one?
Akash does. Anyone holding Akash deserves what they're getting right now because that thing was shelled hard.
Altcoin Psycho's running fucking laps, right?
Yeah, he better be, dude.
Dude,
I bought and sold that thing like 4 times.
2-3 years now.
Yeah.
I think he was buying throughout that whole like sideways period. I'm pretty sure. Like,
I don't think he gave a fuck about price.
He did. Yeah, he did. He was like, "This is gonna rip eventually."
Yeah.
But that's the cool thing about bear markets.
His other bag with the cash.
Yeah.
The cool thing about bear markets and crypto is like you have teams that will continue building throughout the bear market, and then you have teams that don't continue building throughout the bear market. But the charts look the same for every coin. Like every coin's down 90%, and then it goes sideways for multiple months. And the only people that can differentiate between like which coins are shit and which coins aren't shit are the people doing the research to check and see who's actually still building shit out. Because all the charts look the same. There's literally no way you would be able to tell purely looking at the charts.
They've been behaving the same, bro. The L1s, like, so Bitcoin did something where if you just like mark out the monthly imbalance on Bitcoin from the crash, it ran up to the midpoint of that monthly imbalance, consolidated for a few weeks, then ripped to the top, consolidated, then ripped above it. Sol, my first sell to then rebuy lower was at its monthly imbalance midpoint. And then AVAX did the same shit at a target of 42 for the same reason. And now FTM's doing the same thing. So it really, you can just like look at a chart that already exploded and go find one that hasn't done exactly what that did yet.
Facts. Nah, that's how I played the rotations last cycle. Literally from mapping coins that have ripped already to ones that hadn't moved yet. And I'm like, well, I know capital is going to probably flow down to this next, especially if they're in the same sector. Right. It works a lot. Like it works a lot in crypto.
We talked a bit about Cosmos. I want to get an update on sort of your Solana thesis. Moreover, like, you know, how do you treat Solana in terms of your portfolio? Like, do you see a place where you want to rotate away from it, or do you just want to be in Solana all cycle?
It's my core. Like I want to be in it basically all cycle. So right now, I think there's a lot of airdrops you can still farm on Solana that like are also haven't dropped tokens yet. So it still makes sense to have a big bag of SOL, even if you're trying to like play other things. But the way I do it is I keep like whatever my majority portfolio. So for me, it's like Solana, Coinbase, Prime, Bitcoin, and then I don't really touch those. But I can use those assets to farm different protocols on the chain. Right. So like Solana's my like home base chain basically. Yeah. And then the other 30%, I can do all these rotations like Cosmos stuff, AVAX stuff, like whatever, perps or whatever. All that shit I can do with the other part of my portfolio. But yeah, my thesis hasn't really changed. I mean, it's the same as I thought it was earlier this year. Now it's been repriced, I think, to a better place, which makes more sense now. Like pre-FTX, it was like 40. And I was like, well, it's got to go at least back to 40 eventually. And now it's at like 70, 80. But there's really only been 2 big drops so far. What, Pith?
Yeah.
And Jito?
And Jito, yeah.
But we still have like a lot of the big protocols on Solana still haven't dropped their tokens. Like Jupiter still hasn't dropped their token, and they're doing 4 rounds of airdrops, like 40%, I want to say, of the token supply to the community. And then you have Tensor. We don't know if they're going to drop a token, but it's likely they're doing points programs, and they're basically the Blur equivalent on Solana. They're dominating like NFT volumes over there. They don't have a token yet. Then you have what, MarginFi, which is like the Aave equivalent. They don't have a token yet. You have Meteora, whatever. We have Camino. Like there's a ton of protocols.
Jico, you got Drifts, Lulo,
exactly.
Zeta.
Yeah, Drift, Zeta Markets, like all those don't have tokens yet, and they all have points programs. So I think that people saw how much you got from the Jito airdrop, and you just watch the DEX volumes, the inflows, like all the bridge volumes. It's just continuing to rip up because people are like, well, we know that we're still kind of early to farming all this stuff on Solana, and these are solid teams. Like these are multi-billion-dollar teams.
Are you holding Jito? Do you have like high targets for that?
Yeah, I haven't sold my Jito airdrop. I actually bought more.
Yeah. I ended up longing it to 450 or 445, like ish.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I like Jito. I think they're like, so right now they don't do a ton of MEV, but if you're looking at what you think future flows are going to be on Solana, MEV on Solana should be way, way, way more than it is on ETH because of how much throughput the chain can do and how much you should be able to build financial applications on Sol that you literally can't do on other chains. And MEV is going to be huge if that plays out to be a thing. And they're also the fucking like liquid staking. So it's like Lido and Flashbots all in one token on a chain that can handle a lot more activities. That's like my Jito thesis. But
are you bullish Sol NFTs?
Yeah, Mad Lads I think is going to do well. I think Mad Lads are like the people say they're more BA whatever, Bored Ape Yacht Club, but I think Bored Apes are fucking lame. I kind of compare them to punks, but
Bored Apes also didn't have like Spurg devs behind them either.
yeah, like bro, the Mad Labs, what is it? The backpack team is cracked out, bro. Like they're building an exchange. They have the fucking wallet. Then they have X NFTs. So it's like a combination of multiple different things all under the same brand. I think they're doing that really well. You don't really have a lot of that happens in crypto. I think it's one of the easiest bets you can make. Like if you are thinking Mad Lads is your best proxy to getting exposure to Backpack and the entire ecosystem, I think they're going to do really well. And then there's some other ones that are cool. I don't know what Claynos are cool.
You fuck with Kex?
Quex, the dog, the duck. Yeah, I fuck with Quex.
All right.
KW is a beast, bro. I fuck with Quex. Quex are like the I compare them to kind of like dick butts. Like
dude, that doesn't spell well for me, bro.
Dude, I own a dick butt and a Quex, and I can assure you that the dick butt is a very different feeling than a Quex.
Yeah.
They're cool.
They're talking to our accountant.
Quex guys are cool. I fuck with them.
What do you think happens to Tensos after Tensor airdrop?
I mean, I think they probably rip into the airdrop. Right now, I want to say only 2% of the entire supply is listed on exchanges because people are just staking them to get points for the airdrop. But yeah, it depends on what valuation it comes out at. I don't know, or if they like what they do, if they do a token or not. I really have no clue. I would assume it probably pulls back post airdrop, like once people collect whatever it is that they get airdropped. But yeah, I like Tensors. I like a lot. Bro, they were sitting at like 10, whatever, 15, 20 SOL, and I was like, bro, do people not know what this company is doing?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
how
it's
are
just
they this low? Like, what?
I managed to scoop when Tensos and Quex were basically the same price.
Yeah,
they were not far off. And that's a big shout out to you because like you're the conduit for my exposure to the eco and the players in it. So big thanks. Well, we went over Cosmos. We talked about Solana. I want to know what your opinion. A couple of things on my list here is SAY and BRC20s, but sort of dealer's choice, like whatever you think you can speak more on or want to talk about.
Bro, like BRC20s, I think are really good for the miners, like the Bitcoin miners, because they're making a ton of money off that activity. I really don't know the best way to play that ecosystem yet. People have been telling me to buy Track, which is apparently building out all the infrastructure to make trading all these BRC20s a lot easier.
Benny's
Track,
the guy, man.
Yeah, Track, and then Mubi, I think, is the bridge or whatever. I mean, it's interesting. I really didn't have a strong opinion on it, other than I thought just because this is the first time Bitcoin ever has altcoins, I know it's probably gonna rip. That was just my left curve thesis. Bitcoiners have a ton of fucking money. Like, they're the richest people in crypto, and they don't really fuck with ETH all that much, like a lot of the maxi guys. So it's like, if they have their own ecosystem that they can bet on, even if it's clunky as fuck, like it's really bad. But I'm trying to trade inscriptions is fucking an awful experience.
It is, yeah. It's basically like trading OTC. You know, like, and then like, the confirmations are insane, like 10, 20, 30 minutes. Like, yeah,
it's so bad. But I do think the way I think about it is, I think there's gonna be some collections out of the BRC20s that do really well, because Bitcoin being the best chain for provenance in crypto, like obviously the oldest, like the most money there, it makes sense to me that there's some kind of NFT collection that lives on like whatever the earliest inscriptions are, that does really well and holds value well, because that's like an artifact on Bitcoin. Well, other than that, I don't know how to play it that well, honestly.
Yeah, BRC20 has been going nuts. Like, Sats is up 300% like every week. Like every week it's just up.
It's not listed on Binance too, right?
Sats and Track are getting listings. Ordi, obviously. But yeah, I've been heavy into that eco lately because it's just going nuts. But okay, so SAY, I know you're bullish SAY. You've said in the past that it's like Solana's little brother, or little sister, or whatever. Like, what's the fundamental thesis around SAY? I know a little bit about sort of like its value prop. But
hold on one sec before you answer that, guys. I got to jump off for another call, but go to it. Z, I'll talk to you soon, brother.
All right, Brody.
Take care.
Take care, Gunny.
Thanks, man.
SAY. So SAY is cool. I think they've done some really cool implementation things with the Cosmos SDK. They've like made some tweaks to it that have basically tailored the chain to be specifically applications. They also have parallelized transactions the same way that Solana does, and I know their intention is to be able to do essentially the same TPS. We won't really see how well the chain does until they have as much activity as Solana does. So it's still an early bet, but I think that same thesis around an L1 that's fast, cheap, is better for like, it handles a ton of applications building on top of it. It's basically that same thesis, but in the Cosmos. And they're also working on parallelizing the EVM. I think they're launching that in Q1 or Q2. I want to say that's like their SAY V2. I think that's interesting. Like
I was listening to the founders the other night, and they were talking about how like TPS is a meme and that they really focus on time to finality, and their time to finality is down at like 380 milliseconds, where I think the nearest neighbor is like AVAX, which is like reportedly like 780, like 880. Do you think time to finality is going to matter in any meaningful way for any of these developers?
I mean, I think it matters a lot for these financial apps. If you want to be competitive with something like Binance or all these other centralized exchanges, that's big. Yeah, it's definitely a big thing. but it's a meme until you see it happen on mainnet.
Right.
So it's like you need to somehow get that activity there to prove that you can do that first. That's why I say that I think Solana had such a leg up on stuff like Aptos, Sui, and all the other L1s, because they may be able to handle as much throughput in theory on testnet. But it's like Solana has this entire ecosystem of developers, like builders, like retail people that are diehards for the chain. And you need that community first before you kind of prove out that your thesis for how your chain's going to do.
Yeah. Are you allocated to say?
I don't have any right now. I'm watching the chart though. I'm probably going to get long when I think it's going to move. It's one of those ones that like Cosmos' stuff has done really well, and say it's only done like, I want to say 3x off the bottom, but it hasn't moved all that much yet. And I think it's one of the ones that's going to catch that like rotation capital eventually.
It's also kind of a sleeper. It's like sleeper Cosmos Eco, because you can't even stake it on the Kepler staking dashboard, and like they want you to use Compass instead of Kepler.
Yeah.
The same way that Aptos and Sui are kind of like merged in my mind just because of the timing of their launch. I feel kind of similar about Tia and Say. And looking at these charts, Tia's kind of showing us a roadmap here. It was like just a fairly simple stair step up. And I picked up some Say the other day just in this dip. I was like, okay, I guess this is where I'm supposed to get on. And you know, even though they're probably not too related in exactly like where they're located and you know exactly what their tech is, what they do, but I have a feeling that we're going to see some convergence on these two in people's minds just simply because of their time around launch.
Yeah,
I think so too. No, I think so too.
I'm long.
What are your targets for Solana this cycle?
Send it. For like cycle highs.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. I really try not to have price targets and lock into them, because I really trade off the price action rather than like arbitrary price. But I think it's at least going 2x its previous all-time high, which is like 500.
Okay, yeah,
that's like my
reasonable.
That's like my minimum. That's like
it's a good floor.
Target.
Yeah.
The way I've been thinking about it is like last cycle, Ethereum was what 20% of the entire crypto total market cap at the peak, and Solana was around 2.5% or something around there. So that gap is going to close significantly this cycle, in my opinion. So it depends on how much whatever speculative fervor we get next cycle, but I think Solana is going to be closer to like at least over 5%. I think of total.
Looks like ETH peaked at 33% here, so that's pretty sick.
33%. Oh, I thought it was like 20.
That's wild.
Crazy.
That's wild. Yeah.
That's well, no, and that was June 2017. Never mind. That was its all-time high dominance.
Yeah.
That was
the flippening.
Wix, Wix to 26 through 2021. More likely like 22. Yeah. That's reasonable.
Around there.
Do you see a time this cycle where you are like hard rotating to ETH and ETH L2s, or are you just sort of like kind of fading it cycle long?
I think ETH is going to be the last thing to pump. It always is the last.
I kind of fucking agree, dude. I would think that.
Yeah. When ETH BTC goes vertical, it's like you sell everything. It's the last rotation for me. Honestly, it depends on how much I'm up. When like if I think Solana's top, I'm probably not even gonna try and catch that last rotation. Like, dude, I'm out. If Solana goes where I think it's gonna go, and I get close to selling, like close to the top of that, I'm probably just gonna be out of the market. Even if I think ETH is gonna rip at the end to go whatever another 2x or whatever it is, I'm probably not even gonna try and play it. I'm not gonna lie. Because I know myself, and if I do that and I'm like, oh, now I 2x my portfolio again, I'm just gonna keep trading. I'm just gonna keep going.
It's a slippery slope playing late cycle rotations. Yeah,
but that's where all the best Ponzi's come out, dude. The best Ponzi's come like super late cycle.
Bro, like all the ohm forks that dropped at the end of last cycle,
bro. You would have missed out on time if you dipped.
Well, in Bitcoin,
every time an ohm fork dropped, it was like free 10x. Like if you got in it early.
Bro, I got Klima and Rome whitelist, and Rome whitelist alone was 1,500 to like 120K in a day. in a day, bro.
Yeah, it was stupid, bro. It was stupid. No, it was stupid.
Okay, DFK in the pit, like we all have been agreeing with your thesis here, and then certainly the tweets helped, where it was like, okay, what was bro who did the math on it? He was like, okay, it was at 1.5 bill valuation with 500 million circulating, and like the inflation was insane. Now it's 125 mil circulating, 34 mil market cap, like, and in the game is developed, like, so like, is that something like that's a meme for you where it's like I'll pick up a bag for the culture, or is it like real?
Bro, I love DFK. I feel like I literally had to buy a bag just because they never stopped working on everything. And I was so early to it the first time. I pulled up the chart and it's literally breaking out of like a fucking like multi-month range. And then I talked to Dreamer and them like a few weeks ago or whatever it was, and they updated me on everything that's going on because I was like way behind. I'm like, Jesus Christ, there's like PvE, there's PvP, there's like all these different heroes. They've done shifted all the way off Harmony to Clayton, and there's the AVAX subnet. So it's on 2 chains. They're their own app chain on Avalanche. They're their own app chain. They're the biggest subnet. Like they've literally done more transactions in their history than the entire AVAX C chain has done ever, just on DFX, which is crazy. So like they've done a lot of work on also fixing the tokenomics. Like, the main issue why it dumped so hard was it was super inflationary and it went parabolic at the same time. So if you have a fucking 100x and like all that inflationary rewards hitting at the same time,
shit, bro,
it's fucking smashed the chart. But now they burned all the lock jewel, converted lock jewel to lock jade, crystal, and then some like I think unlocked crystal, unlocked jade. So they like cut the supply by in half or like 60% or something like that. So Jules, it's deflationary now because you have to spend it for whatever you do in game, and then also it's the gas token on I think the subnet, and I don't think it's the gas token on Clayton, but it's the gas token on the AVAX subnet, which is like the most activity.
I for one am really enjoying
it. And then all the stuff I was looking for that like I wanted them to implement, like all the gameplay is now there.
Yeah.
So it's basically like buying it at the same price I bought it the first time, but it's actually built out now.
When you pulled up your heroes, I did you remember like the buy 4 Gen 1 and then do the family tree strategy from last cycle where you end up with like something like 164 heroes. Like I still had like a lion's share of those heroes. And I was like, what the fuck do I do with this now?
I literally have like 170 heroes still.
Are you gonna play, or are you just sort of like, I'm gonna chuck some in because I can't, like after all this, like I can't miss out on if it just goes nuts?
I mean, I'm gonna play. I want to test out like all the PvP, the PvE. I want to see how it is.
It looks nuts. I saw some clips of it. Like I was like,
this is fire, right?
Yeah.
People were like, "Yo, this is DFK now? What the fuck?" Like, it was just a farm before, literally just a yield farm.
Yeah, it's wild. Do you think anything happens with Crystal or Jade, or is it all Jewel?
I'm not sure. I need to do my research. People have told me that like Crystal is undervalued because it's also nearing the end of its inflation. It's going to be deflationary soon also. And I think there's like different things that you can use Crystal and Jade for on their respective chains. I don't know exactly how the ecosystem is set up, but I think they all should go together. Jewel's obviously the main one, but I think they should go together. They've done a good job of thinking of like fixing the tokenomics and trying to make sure everything has its own slate.
I know you've been looking for first meme coin on X. Are you aware of Mid?
Mid
is the first meme coin on Say.
No, I'm not aware. Is it out right now?
They're racking up OG rolls in the Discord. There's going to be an airdrop. Apparently the team is actually not like a bunch of idiots. Like it's actually people who are experienced in the space. And it seems like that from how they operate. So definitely check it out. Me and the boys in the pit have been going wild on Mid.
Fire. I'll check it out. Bro, somebody sent me the first meme coin on Injective today.
Really? What is that?
It's top Talus.
Talus isn't Talus one of the Talus is one of the validators and upcoming apps.
They just dropped their token.
There is meme coin.
I think so.
I'm staked to their validator for a potential airdrop.
Probably got an airdrop, or it's but I think it just dropped today. Somebody sent it to me.
Wow, bro.
Yeah.
Oh so, shit.
Yeah, I'm probably buying that today. Like
for real.
After I get off here.
Oh my god,
dude! Wow. I've been doing the most degen shit, bro. I have Doginals, bro. I bought some fucking ordinals on Doge.
Of course, yeah.
I've heard about those.
Yeah, DRC20s, bro.
DRC20s.
That's real, dude. There's so many dudes in the pit who have already are like, bro, DRC20s, Doginals, like it's gonna go.
Yeah. No, I'm on it, bro. I'm on it.
All right. So Sol, Cosmos Eco, potentially BRC20s, potentially some say rotations. What am I missing here? Is there anything else you got your eye on, you're well educated on and ready for?
Let me think. What do we not talk about that I'm thinking about? Oh, Parallel. I think Parallel is gonna do really well. Like I've been big on Parallel for a minute now. Honestly, one of the cleanest charts, and I think it's a way to get exposure to gaming and AI at the same time, and that's like a I think going to be two of the biggest narratives this cycle. And the game's actually a good game. Like if you go play the game, it's actually solid. Like their last tournament, they had some of the biggest Hearthstone guys playing in their tournament, so it's like actually solid. It's hella complex. I'm like, bro, I don't know how to fuck.
Yeah,
it's gonna take me a while to get good at it. It's actually a game, but that's really important for those like hardcore gamers because they don't really care about crypto. They just care if the game's fun and that they want to play it. But if you have that, and then you add a flywheel behind the token on top of that, and they have to spin the token in game for all of their upgrades and all that shit, it can happen like that reflexivity can happen really, really, really quickly, I think. So
yeah, I hope their parasets come back. I was big into Prime before the token and before back a couple years ago, and I loaded up on all their pack drops, and then I went and built like a paraset, and I had whatever that is, the drive, and farming the token. But I have not accumulated much of a bag of this token other than the airdrop, and I got this paraset, man. You don't want to know the cost basis, but
they were expensive.
Dude, it was stupid. And I was even saying earlier, I was just like, yeah, somebody's gonna come like this $200,000, paraset of cards. Like, can't wait for that 5x. You know what I mean? Like, where are you going from 200K? But I've still got it. But we're gonna find out. This is a bull market thing. So I'm excited to see them do well, though. I've been following that team closely at the start, and Fitch joined their marketing team, and it is complex. So I kind of like threw the whole thing, and I was like, oh, I want to get into the beta, and I clicked through it a little bit, and I was like, I can't wrap my head around this right now. Like kind of like Magic the Gathering vibes.
It's deep, dude. Like that's why I bought the token just before I even started playing the game. I was like, yeah, this makes sense. As there was Prime. And then there was Illuvium. I was like, well, these are the two biggest gaming names. I think NFTs are eventually going to come back. I was talking about that a few months back. I'm like, I have no idea what fucking NFT to buy, but I know which tokens I can buy. Yeah. So I'm looking at Prime and it hasn't moved yet. I'm like, yeah, I'll buy this. And I was like around $2.
Speaking of NFTs, Talus is an NFT app. It's an NFT exchange.
That's what it is? Okay.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like Blur or like whatever, something.
Yeah.
Like
so essentially a meme.
No, bro. Don't always try and pattern match, bro. I don't know what the Talus. I looked at it, bro. We should have bought the fucking Injective NFTs.
That's what I'm saying, bro. To go because Talus hasn't done its and it's like I'm sure the token's tradable, but they're gonna airdrop to participants on the exchange.
Yeah. So I was like, so I went on. I was looking at the Injective chart. I'm okay. This shit is up 20x this year. Injective, I've missed completely. I don't know. I was just completely off the radar for that. And then I try and bridge over to Injective, and I'm like, bro, there's not even anything to buy over here. Like it's literally just Helix, which is like the trading whatever. And then there's that marketplace, and there's like 2 NFT collections. I'm like, bro, how the fuck is this chain up 20x? There's not even a meme coin yet. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
But then the NFTs like tripled or whatever because it was the only thing people could buy, and everybody was doing the rotation between like, okay,
bro, NFTs on Say like don't fade. Like on Say they did their first free mint, which is the colony, their ants, and yesterday I like swept for at $25. They're at fucking like $200 now, and they're just gonna go up. Sailors and Colony are like the early collections on Say, and nobody gives a fuck about Say yet, so they're all dirt cheap.
True, bro. I'm so hyped to play the rotation between so many more chains now. This like even more.
There's a lot. There's a lot coming.
There's a lot. There's like so many. Like, and they all can't pump at the same time. They literally can't pump at the same time. And everybody now knows that that's the play. Like if you rotate from this chain,
I mean, they're kind of all pumping at the same time now, but this is probably the last time.
But it's off the lows, and it's like a relatively low lift versus like later cycle, deeper liquidity. Like it's easier to move from 20 mil to 80 mil than it is from like 2 billion to 7 billion. But you know, like there's a lot coming. There's still no good privacy chain solution. I think like there's just a lot of narratives.
There will never be such a thing, RT.
Yeah, it's an interesting story. If you ask the guys I spoke to last week, you'd have a different opinion. But we'll talk about that next year when they're coming out. There is going to be an end game in blockchain, and I don't think it's been built yet. Let's just say that, based on some of the conversations I've been having in the last few months. Like, first of all, if I send you money and you can see how much money I have, like that's just not the future of finance. There has to be some compliant private crossover if you're ever going to break through a certain threshold. We're gonna have fun and we're gonna play and we're gonna speculate, but like that's end game for me. And
isn't that wallet abstraction? Like that's the problem that's trying to solve.
And there's some of that going on, just not native to the chains yet.
You can have native, native on Solana. I think now you can do it with
I heard there was something coming for privacy on Solana, but it's not native in the sense that it's like it's not your base chain, it's not a privacy chain, right? What is the Solana privacy solution? Because I heard about something recently.
I think it's called Elusive.
Yeah. I was just looking at it the other day.
Yeah, ELUSIV. I think it's called Elusive.
Yeah. But you know, I've always been bearish privacy tokens and privacy protocols.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Like in their current state, I was pretty excited about Secret Network. That you know, they had lots going on at the Secret Foundation. There was a hack, there was an exploit. Like there was some more deeper things going on there. But I've since kind of evolved my understanding of like you can't just have pure privacy, because you need to be able to verify that like North Korea is not hanging out on your chain. So I think it's that bridge between like optional privacy or privacy toggles that you can have where you can have like real world finance apps. Because let's be honest, in the real world, you're just not going to run your app if like everything you send to somebody, they can just like take a look inside your wallet. This is not the end game. So,
but you don't have to, like, if you need that OPSEC, you can get it right now. You just spin up another wallet, like so on and so forth.
I'm talking about mainstream though, bro.
But here's
spin
the
up
thing,
another
dude.
wallet.
When it comes to retail, if there's any trade-off whatsoever, if there's anything that's less optimal about doing the privacy secured route, retail will never do it because they put their entire lives on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. They don't care about privacy insofar as they get some kind of social or monetary gain from non-privacy, right? Like I don't think the retail ever will. So that's like a that's a headwind for privacy, you know?
I mean, I would agree with you. I don't think people in general appreciate the privacy until they need it, and they don't feel like they need it until then they're like, wait, where's my privacy?
But JP Morgan
too late. But yeah, businesses, B2C, like there needs to be a layer. Anyways, that's my thesis. I'm sticking to it. But all that to say, there's some really interesting stuff being built, and I don't think we've seen the end game like of what will be, you know, whatever your 5, 10, 20 year out window of like, you know, is there, okay, here's a fun question. Is there a killer app yet? And if not, what do you think will be one of the first ones? And this is kind of getting into my prediction talk from the start of the show. Like, I forget who it was, put it out there yesterday, but I DM'd one of it to Rob, but it's, you know, there's some big, good prediction kind of threads coming out that I love reading. Let me find the one, Ryan Rasmussen.
Well, I think like
talking
there is
about
a killer app, right?
Killer app being prediction markets.
There is a killer app. It's called Swapping, and it's also called public fundraising from zero. Like those two things have proven to be the big liquidity vacuum for all of crypto since its inception. And I think people fade those all too much, and myself included, to where it's like, maybe this is the killer app, bro. Like maybe the fact that like you can raise for a company from anybody worldwide, and you can also swap like basically stocks with like any unlike stock, right? Like that's essentially what we've done. And that's pretty huge. Like
that's where we're at now for sure, right? It's a market of speculation. I'm curious, Z, if you're thinking ahead to like, you know, blockchain, we're here, we're speculating, and a lot of this is speculation on what will be that killer breakthrough for blockchain. You know, what is your kind of like long end game thesis for like, what are the things that might take off through, like break through that barrier into people's regular everyday lives that maybe don't even give a shit about blockchain?
Honestly, I think like the social area is the most interesting for me. I think there's a way that crypto can tap into the content creation, like social media, that entire wave that's happening right now, where it's like there's a ton of more connections being built directly people to people than there was where it was like prior to. A lot of the advertising was like person to company, like company were advertising to people. But I think now there's a lot of these relationships that happen directly to people. Like people are brands now online. And like a lot of the TikTok people, a lot of the YouTube people, like what's bro's name on YouTube, the biggest guy, Mr. Beast. So Mr. Beast, like, yeah, Mr. Beast is basically his own television show. He has his own candy or whatever it is, his own brand, and I'm pretty sure he has like his own fund and everything now too. But I think there are interesting ways in which you can align the incentives for like community around these people. In a way that's beneficial for both, not just Mr. Beast, but all of his viewers, subscribers, whatever. I think social is gonna be cool. I don't know what it looks like yet, but that's like one of the most interesting areas for me is like how you do that on chain.
If you can decentralize the social graph, like that's fucking huge.
Yeah. Like if you can tap into people's social graphs. I think Instagram doesn't really do it in a great way. Like people post their photos and post stories, but I don't think that they do it in as good of a way that crypto could if you really have all of those on-chain relationships. And if you have like one of the coolest things for me is like, say I had an NFT of whatever, my persona or me or whatever, like some NFT reflective of me. And then like whenever I do things in like real life, I go to events, I hang out with my boys, I meet people here, I meet people there, I do stuff on chain, I like whatever, make money off this, use this protocol. And anytime I do any of those things, my NFT changes and it like updates and goes like whatever like accomplishments I make, you can see that reflective. And then if you connect that to whatever your social graph is in crypto, right now everybody's on Twitter. Like I have all of my little circles on Twitter where like I know these guys do this. I have my Cosmos people, I have my Solana people, like my AVAX people. But there's no really way that that's shown effectively on like social media directly. It's all like we know it's there, but it's not like, I don't think it's done in a great way yet. But that's like one of the coolest things for me is how that's gonna, if somebody could do that, I think it's cool.
Yeah, Rob is in the chat here. One of our regulars, co-founder at Hxro, saying stablecoin is currently the killer app thus far. I think we could all agree on that. 0 to 168 billion in whatever many years. And in Rob's honor, I got to give a shout out. Oh,
DESO,
read this. Oh yeah, that is,
yeah, bro.
He just sent me something from Nader. DESO is ripping. It is still, if you ask Rob, he'd say it's still undervalued, but it is ripping. You know, we were talking about it Thursday for the first time in a while, and it just ripped after that. But if you look back,
it's literally called decentralized social.
Decentralized social.
Yeah.
So there's an interesting, so this is from, okay, Rob's sending me this live in action. It's a little long. I don't know if we'd read this, but you check this one out. I think aside from the fact that on paper they have 2,500 Bitcoin in their treasury, plus like 29 million cash, 17 years runway, but their chain is actually super sick. I wish Rob was here to talk about it. It's his baby. But Nader is now coming out. yeah, it's got its own chain. It's got some really impressive metrics. There's even a DEX on it. Their file storage is some ridiculous number, more efficient, infinite state. It's nerdier than I care to. Yeah. Okay. So Rob's in my DMs. Maybe we should get Rob just plugged in here. Hop in quick, dude. But he's like, it's exactly what you're talking about right now. So this is a good time probably to plug this idea on here, because aside from like their treasury value is close to where the token is, even at this price, I think it's creeping up now. It was sitting at treasury for about 6 months this summer. But Nader's coming out now. If you follow this guy on Twitter, you'll see, or right over on Diamond, his social platform, but he's confirming next major SocialFi consumer app from the DeSo protocol will have a fully permissionless airdrop. So like he's cooking right now, dude. This guy's ready to jump in. So I'm super bullish. This and Helium are my two biggest bags for the last few weeks. And thank God Rob came back to the stream on Thursday, because I had sold my bag and I bought it back that day. And it's like, I would have been really right now.
Yeah, I'm up big on Helium too. I was like, bro, they announced their global, what is not global, their national cell phone plan for $20. And the coin didn't even move. I bought it like as soon as I seen that, and the coin didn't even move. I was like, bro, what the fuck is going on, bro?
It was weird. Yeah, and then it shot.
It was.
I think it was like 8 hours later. It took off.
Yeah.
Well, the biggest thing for me on that was the T-Mobile like infra, where it's like this is all like cope, like we're gonna fucking replace mobile networks with full blockchain until you like patch that gap and you say like, okay, yeah, we are going to do that, but in the meantime, like we don't want you to be without coverage. Here's this like stopgap. And once you have that in place, it's like, oh, this is actually like not delusional.
It's huge partnership. I saw that, and that was earlier this year, the partnership with T-Mobile. It's like when they don't have coverage, they're trying to like work on getting coverage everywhere, but when we don't, we're just going to leverage this existing traditional infrastructure. I was like, well, these guys are smart as fuck. Like,
and that was really interesting to me, because I was watching a Helium going like, okay, cool, cell phone coverage, but you're just not going to have enough. And so when I actually had to sell half on a double order set for like 380, because I was picking it up, I guess at half that, whatever that is, 170, and then it hit and it blasted right through it. But then I read that they were going to use this T-Mobile 5G, and I was like, damn, like I have to reevaluate my whole thesis now. I think this thing's just going to reprice like fairly aggressively. I mean, we saw it running to $50 last cycle on this idea that this would be what would happen, and now it's happening. And so I kind of just repositioned myself pretty aggressively through this. And it's like, it's the same recipe, guys. If you guys watch the stream much, it's the same recipe. You see something pumping, don't chase it unless you got the pump chaser zone. And so this thing set up like an absolutely beautiful dip through, what was it, Monday, I guess this week, Monday, Tuesday. And
it's a great start, bro.
Right down in here, and then broke up through it yesterday. So we're just repricing, and I think it doesn't happen all at once, and you just have to be patient. But that T-Mobile stuff and the global cover, or the national coverage, like it's bigger news than I think it got priced at in the first 2 weeks. It's gonna rip. I'm pretty confident in this one.
No, I think so too, dude. I think
chaos is all the way up to 12 and 20. So
Coach did touch on a good point here. We haven't yet to talk about the title of the stream itself. So Z, what are your top narratives for 2024? What do you think? What basket of rotations do you foresee for the next year?
Obviously my biggest one is Solana, but the larger narrative around that is the like parallelized execution. So I think just generally, whatever you're building, whether it's on an L1 or a roll up, I think the minimum in the future is going to be that you have a parallelized execution for everything on like that chain. And that's going to be a big narrative. Yeah, that's going to be a big narrative this cycle, especially with people seeing how well Solana has done. As far as rollups, I think rollups in the Cosmos ecosystem is going to be a big one. Like I've said, we've already talked about Celestia. I think Celestia Dimension. There's a few other chains working on similar stuff over there, but that's something that hasn't really been talked about as much as rollups in the Ethereum ecosystem. And I think if you can leverage IBC to like have those native like native bridging between them, and you enshrine the rollups at the settlement layer, and whatever protocol that does that well. I think rollups are going to do well in the Cosmos ecosystem. I think DePIN is going to be a big one because that's something that's tangible for people to see. Stuff like Helium, stuff like Hive Mapper, like the decentralized storage stuff. I think those are going to be big because that's like, yeah, render, like so like DePIN and AI are like my
What
biggest.
about Pocket, bro? Did you abandon the original DePIN?
I never sold Pocket. But I'm down like 99.9% on Pocket, bro. Literally, I don't even know where that bag is. I'm down so much on that coin.
We started buying at like 4.5 cents. It's up to like 12 now. It's gonna
it's back. It's coming. People have been DMing me
it's
like,
ripping,
yo, dude, your pocket's coming back.
Yeah, and it's AI now. They added some AI sauce to the narrative. So
no way.
Yeah,
for real.
AI RPCs, bro.
DePIN, I like DePIN as well. Data. I'm not saying this would be my pick or anything, but Data Streamer is one that I was. This is perfect because on the topic of narratives for next year, I was just gonna say we got to drop DESO. DESO is probably my one if I just pick a narrative because everything you just described I think fits really well, and I would agree with you. So for the sake of getting into like a decentralized social, which is it's got potential for the hottest narrative.
This is the Ansem special number 2. I mean, honestly, people are gonna look back, I think, on that coin because it's got a real fucking pro lead dev, real pro founder who can build, and he's no joke. But the valuation is completely just dislocated from
cockamamie.
Like,
it's cockamamie.
Tell him the treasury.
Well, yeah, the treasury's got like 2,524 Bitcoin. It's got $110 million of the Bitcoin, and it's got like 25 million of USDC, so 140 million at least. And the thing was trading like there was a big fund seller in there. You could tell, like some TradFi fund, T-Wopping and shit, and they sold, I don't know, 5 to 8% of this thing under book value, like size, like between $8 and $10. And so now, and also the kicker on this, it's all circulating. Like 98% is out there already. This thing, honestly, like if you compare it to other layer ones, and it was trading $1 billion fully diluted cap, you'd be like, that looks cheap. Yeah. This thing's trading like 240 right now after it just doubled. It's illiquid, but it's on Coinbase. Coinbase was a big supporter. But this, to me, like this was kind of Ansem, with his Solana call, which was just bang on. I think this one, even though it doubled from, in a week, I think it's still gonna fucking absolutely.
Chart looks great, bro. It looks like that's what I have alerts set on, bro. I have alerts set on so many alts right now, and they're all like those multi-month, like year-long ranges. As soon as they hit that breakout, I'm like, okay, I need to buy this.
Yeah. We just got a monster weekly close on DESO. It's a Thursday already, 4 days ago. But and then just kind of like dip back through and it's back up again already. So again, the float is really low. I know I've been in there trading it on Coinbase. Like there might be 600 available on offer on any direction for like 4 or 5%. So and this is kind of your thing, Rob. You said, dude, when this thing moves, it's just going to move because there's no float. Like there's 10 billion or what is there? 10 total supply, 11 million. And they're basically all out there and they're all in the hands of whoever didn't sell this like stable coin trough for 2 years. So
I'd like to
they didn't hold through that to sell at a fucking like first break for sure. Yeah.
I'd like to get him on and talk to him about, because he's starting to talk a big game about their tech. He claims that their deflationary proof of stake protocol that they're putting out, like Revolution or whatever, he says it's by far the most technically advanced in the market. He's starting to talk.
We should get him on. I feel like you talk about him enough that we should he should, let's reach out.
He was the first guy who built like the first stablecoin algorithmic one, like Basis Cash.
Yeah.
He bailed on that. He raised a shit ton of money and he bailed because I think regulatory pressure. He was early on that.
So here's the thing: if you like hated rallies, and this is part of why I think he got the hate, right? When BitClout came out, whenever it was last bull market, even I feel like it was in the bear, but I think it was last bull. And BitClout came out, it was on a bonding curve, and before it was public, there was like deep funds in there. Who were the funds? Arrington was in there, Coinbase Ventures. Like there was some massive
A16Z, Sequoia. They were
all coming in, and this like steep bonding curve buying on pennies, and we found it around $50. And then you have him being like X basis cash. So like I remember the press it was getting was so bad. CT hated it. It was bad. And now it's kind of this like forgotten relic. And like you're saying, they're cooking. So I like it for my shot at next year's narrative. I think DeFi social comes up, or desocial.
Because it's also it's like they can host 50 friend techs on there. It's not just one, it's the infrastructure. I mean,
it's a chain,
Yeah, you got to just. Yeah,
anyways, I'd be curious to hear your take on it, Ansem, when you've had time to dig in, because you actually kind of understand. Like Rob's on here last week talking about infinite state, and I'm like, what? Just like I don't know what
infinite
that means.
State on what?
Yeah, no, it's an infinite state chain rather than finite state, and it refers to how much the cost of actually carrying data. With each transaction, and you dig into this thing. I mean,
That's where I stopped too. Sounds like quantum mechanics to me.
No one's doing the hard work on this, and no one's like looking at the comps or anything. It's really, I think it could be the most hated rally of 2024. But I don't know where the hate comes from. I think there was hate around the BitClout launch, and it was kind of like VC insider shit.
You know what it was? I think it was like peak VC hate season. And then they came out with this, and it was the guy who kind of, I wouldn't say rugged Basis Cash, but stopped working on Basis Cash. So there was probably some like people who had lost some money there. That's what it felt like to me. Like it was definitely misplaced hate.
I don't know if anyone lost money on Basis Cash though. I think they returned all the money. I think he raised like 150 million bucks.
Okay.
Yeah.
So people were calling him scammers. So I just kind of assumed they must have lost money. That's usually what you use. Helmet is in the chat. He says hate from the fact that you couldn't extract money from it. Yeah, fair enough. They're saying that the model wasn't refined. So like that could be fixed. Anyways, the fact that it's got a DEX and all that, I didn't even know that. I thought it was literally just an app. So I'm excited.
I do think, and I'd love to get Ansem's take on it, but I do think that one of the big trades and a really big opportunity is going to be how ETH trades relative to Bitcoin as this ETF play progresses, because you're going to, Bitcoin ETF is going to get done. You're going to see some crazy flows, whether it's sell the fucking news, all that, but then ETH is almost going to be a shoe-in. So it's like, when does that spread kick in? And when does like ETH start getting that like, holy shit, an ETH ETF spot is going to be a big deal. That's a big.
Well, like what's next, right? That's a huge catalyst. When it passes, what's the
I noticed that RWAs weren't in your narrative rotation list. Is that not that I'm bullish RWAs? I just want to know what you think of it.
I don't really know how to play it. Like, I mean, I guess RWAs and DePIN is pretty much in the same like kind of bucket for me. And I know how to play the DePIN plays. I guess RWA is one of the coolest projects around there. I think is PARCL. Like PARCL's pretty dope.
Facts. People are fading PARCL hard.
People are fading PARCL hard. I'm like, what?
Yeah. Where is it? Where can I look at it?
Bro, you can long and short entire real estate markets on leverage, and they're doing an airdrop. And the NFTs are like 7 SOL right now. They announced their points program and they shot up from like 5 to 8, like so quick.
Yeah, so their whole thing is get exposure, long or short, to any real estate market that you want. Right now they have I think a lot of the main cities in the US. And they have, I think, London and a few other.
I'm short San Francisco real estate market right now on leverage,
dude. Like, yes, I want if they're able to bootstrap liquidity. I think that's going to be one of the cooler projects. They were telling me that the work that they've done as far as building out the entire data infrastructure to be able to get that those prices in real time, nobody had really done it before, because you didn't really need that in like immediately for real estate. So not even just the like long short side of things, but also that data that they could also
building a primitive essentially.
Yeah, exactly. Like that could be a primitive for a lot of other things, I think, and that's a really cool idea. But as far as the ETH versus BTC, I've been bearish ETH BTC. This cycle, I just think how you separate value in the ETH ecosystem, it's unclear. So before it was pretty clear, like Ethereum, you did execution settlement, but DA, it's all one chain. Now you have 10 plus different L2s. All of them have tokens. They're all at like multi-billion-dollar valuations. You also have Celestia. So Celestia and these other data availability layers, which they're aiming to be cheaper than it is to post DA on Ethereum. So they also have competitors there. And I just think how value is going to flow in that stack is pretty unclear. And that's not even including stuff like Solana, say what Monad, all these other L1s launching, where it's like, why would you use Ethereum as your base layer if you can use some other L1 that's a lot more performant? And then you can also build rollups on top of that eventually at some point. So it's like right now the argument is around security. Obviously, ETH is like biggest smart contract chain by market cap. It's been battle tested. There's not many things that are gonna go wrong with like using ETH's EVM. But I think if you look out in the future, it's not clear whether that's always going to be the case. So I do think there's going to be.
I would go as far as to say it's clear it's not always going to be the case.
Well, I know, but here's the one thing that is the wild card that really might be the most important near term is the ability for true institutional money, like true, if sovereign wealth funds, if true entities want to get in, there was really this like thing where
they're going to go on it. They're going to go on edge, bro.
No, I'm saying like they would get into the fucking spot ETF that BlackRock is running, like period. Sure. It would be Bitcoin, ETH, and then Sol would be the third that I think is like institutions at this point would have no career risk at getting into those. If they start like putting a position on in something else, and then, you know, there's still some like risk. So that's the only, I think, wild card to me is if we see serious flows, like, and we know that big money, it can only kind of point to Bitcoin and ETH to start with BlackRock.
Did you see the GSOL premium, Rob?
Yes. Yeah.
That was wild.
There's like, also, to be honest, there's a way to arb that a little bit. There's another
That's what
token.
I was telling RT. He faded me like I didn't know what I was talking about. I was like, bro, GSOL is like 300% premium to NAV right now, or 600. It was insane.
Well, but that's
fading is a strong opinion.
There's another one that there's one that packages Bitcoin, ETH, and Sol where it's still trading at a discount. So it only has like 5% of Sol. So you can actually get into a little type of ARB there. But that's the one I think, that's, you look at the one that combines the three, and that's trading at a discount still. So
it shows institutional appetite for Sol as well.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's why I do think like the play is probably, if you're really looking at big money, then it's like, how does it flow between Bitcoin and ETH and even Sol? I think we've seen Sol kind of catch up.
I love that Sol is just in that picture now. Like you almost just mention it like in tandem. It's happened fast, right? It's like in under 1 year, it was like the Sam train's dead, and now it's like on CNBC next to ETH and Bitcoin.
Well, that's what I do by fucking Denny Green. Sol is who we thought it was.
Yeah,
it's like the fucking Bears. The Bears are who we thought they were.
It's such a narrative too, like just like Sam being locked up and then Moon, like fucking. It's like
Suzu's got to miss the super cycle. I mean, come on,
it's such a narrative. Z, are you bearish monolithic in general or just ETH implementation?
No, I think I'm not integrated. Integrated architectures make a ton of sense. I'm not bearish monolithic. I mean, Solana is integrated. I'm bearish on what's the word?
The EVM?
The EVM, like pure EVM, not parallelized. I'm bearish on that. I don't think it's gonna last long term. It makes sense for settlement, which is why ETH has pivoted to that. But a chain that only can do 10 TPS, I don't think that's going to be the winner long term. I just don't think it makes sense.
Andre was on Blockworks this morning talking about how it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to parallelize on EVM because it uses so much, like almost every transaction is using so much of the flow that like there's not much to parallelize.
Yeah.
Whereas like SVM is optimized for that purpose.
Yeah. I mean, there's a ton of arguments around it. I don't know. We'll see like how it works in practice because the Monad guys are trying to do it. The Say guys are trying to do it.
Yeah.
And obviously, Andre's going to talk his own book because they have the FVM. But I do think like that's long term. That's gonna be the end game.
Okay. But Rob, you think that like there is potentially a reaction coming up between this changeover from spot BTC approval to spot ETH speculation?
Fuck yeah. There's going to be real vol there. I would want to be long if they had an option for it. Like the ETH BTC, what is it? The 55 million Satoshi level. Like I think we're going to see some movement in that pair for sure. I mean, that's my gut feeling here. I think you really can't judge how big some of the institutional flow is going to be when you have a BlackRock run spot ETF, and then these things really need spot coin to back them up. There's no fucking around like Jamie Dimon's, Chase, JP Morgan Chase at the gold and silver warehouses with certificates shuffling around. Like you need the coin to back these things. So I do. I'm excited for volatility coming up with respect to big flows.
Yeah.
So
what is the one thing that we had up on the board that we definitely want to get before we close out is you got you're a comp sci background. And there's a lot of talk in the space, not all of it very comprehensible, about intents. So if you could just Eli 5 me on intents and what
intent-based trading.
Space. Yeah,
man, I wish I could, honestly. I wish I could. Intents are one of the things I like. It's on my list to go deep into. Bro, I was at a research what was it? It was a workshop, and they were it was intents, shared sequencers, all the smartest people in crypto were talking. It was a whole day thing. I was like, yeah, this is something I need to research more. But generally the way that I understand it is instead of the way that transactions work now, where you want to do this specific thing, it's intents are you have one person that I want to do A, and the other person is I want to do B, and then you try and match those two things. It's honestly very complicated. I wish I could explain it better. But generally that's my understanding of it. I think the best thing to read on it, there's I think Delphi did a long write-up on intents, I want to say. So
I think that's what I was reading the other day, where I got the impression that what this essentially is it's a development modality. It's not like a tech. It's how do we develop these things such that development of Web3 apps is aligned with MEV kind of. Where it's you're looking for outcomes. You're not looking for there's no path dependency for that outcome.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a good way to say it. Yeah. That's true.
But what does that mean for the space? I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you my understanding, and it is I'm bullish on the fact that you're having a hard time explaining. I think it's early in that life cycle. But we led the round on IntentX recently, and they're building to SimIO, which is SYMMIO on base chain. And I think the best comp for me in my ELI5 brain was cow swap. And the way, with cow swap, you get in there, you say 4K USDC, I want to swap it for this token. And then they go out there, and that's the intent put out there. And then the solvers come in and they give you this, big routed order, and they give you the best price, a little refund. And so IntentX, SimIO kind of doing that, SimIO being the back end, which many front ends can plug into, and then IntentX coming in, being one of the front ends built on base chain, going omni-chain, integrated with layer 0, and basically doing for for swaps, cow swap doing for swaps, IntentX kind of doing that for perps, derivatives.
It's a step towards fading into the background. It's a step towards like the user getting the experience where they don't have to know what chain, they don't have to know what liquidity pool, they don't have to know any of this shit.
Well, the omni-chain part of that for sure. I think the big innovation that comes, for example, with IntentX is like your on-chain derivatives is basically like they're going to be able to mirror, the market maker is mirroring Binance, for example. So you place your intent to go long 5 Bitcoin, and a maker will pick that up after they've hedged on Binance, but it all happens like bing, 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 bing really fast. And then there's no liquidity sitting in, like, say, a GMX pool. So it comes down to capital efficiency, right? Where GMX pool, you need like a big pool for every single pair you want to trade. And it just sits there dormant, GLP soaking up most of the incentives. And in this case, you just have market makers sitting there running this match. It's, it's going to have its trade-offs, but IntentX points are going crazy right now on base. So naturally I invested, I'm bullish, but as I go and read some of the stuff people are writing about Intents, I realize there's so much more. And I think that's more where Ansem was coming from earlier. Like it's more than just matching engines and order stuff. But my understanding as it is with IntentX is it's basically just going to bring that centralized liquidity on chain and create a lot more like capital efficiency in on-chain dexes. So it's definitely one of my picks. I think DESO, like as a decentralized social kind of narrative for next year, and then Intents, I think is going to have its time to shine, and we'll see, what it can do for like making on-chain perps and dexes more efficient. And I know Rob's talking a lot about this stuff too with regards to Hero Network and like this idea of just having that ARB and the speed. So it's going to be an interesting.
It's kind of like Hero Network's kind of a solution to the same problem, where it's like it's solving the fragmented liquidity problem by eliminating path dependency, where it's like Hero's solution is like, just go to this one place, all you developers, like we will provide a modular layer for decentralized finance. But like Intents is sort of like, yeah, well, maybe there's this other modular layer, maybe there's this other place where there's pockets of liquidity sitting, and we're just going to find the best, result for you, like the closest to your outcome.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it becomes aggregating on top of aggregating and aggregating from aggregators. I mean, but that is truly like, if you look at the old FX business, the old FX world, like trading, it's like you've got pools of liquidity, you've got 1-0, you've got people plugging in. All these old introducing brokers would put like 30 basis points on top of the main liquidity pool and offer it to their people. I mean, liquidity in general, that is like what DeFi is truly revolutionizing. And liquidity, like we are learning very quickly as we're in these markets every single day. But, as an old market maker down here in the pit, liquidity has come a long way from being very opaque and very fragmented, even physically, to now like the ARB on DeFi. That's what fucking DeFi is supposed to be about. You're watching guys race for ARBs for fractions of pennies to keep shit like efficient. I mean, that is truly like the beauty of DeFi. It's like watching the transactions on Bird Eye for BONK or for Sol or Guac. It's like you watch that book, and then you watch kind of Etherscan from back in the day, where you're watching who's doing what in Uni V2, and you're watching it ARB between Binance and FTX and Coinbase. This Sol shit is another level. And, I think we're only scratching the surface really on how liquidity is going to just bridge everywhere.
All this talk about liquidity and, abstraction layers and Intents, it really makes me wonder, as my final question, Z, where's Dogwifhat going?
Bro, I'm literally looking at the Dogwifhat Telegram right now.
Bro, someone in the pit called this like when it came out, and I faded.
Dude, so I was with this girl the other weekend. I'm like showing her memes on Solana. I'm like, which one should we buy? Which one do you fuck with the most? She's like, the dog with a hat. I'm like, okay,
for sure.
So that makes sense. So I copped some. And then I asked again. I went on live. Like, I went on live. I think it was last weekend. We were on SantaCon. Me and my boy were fucked up. We're like walking around New York, and I just went live. I'm like, fuck, we're gonna go live. And we start talking about Solana and all this shit. And I'm like, what meme question
Look at that
on video?
Bro, that first consolidation after pump is where I was shielded. And people were shilling me Myro at the same time. And I was like, I'm just going to buy more guac instead. I should have bought Whiff for sure.
Dude, well, it's like, bro, BONK was at 15 million at the bottom. Like it was 15 million market cap, and now it's at $1 billion in like 50 days. So this shit happens so quickly. Like, I honestly have no idea. But it's very memeable. Oh, it's a dog with a hat. Like it's very memeable.
What is not to love?
Now they've got cat with hat. They've got Joe Biden with hat, which I'm particularly.
Dude, I've been tracking. So what I was doing with Pepe, when I was trading Pepe, what I would do is I would track the holders on Etherscan, and I was like looking at how fast the holder count was increasing. And if that's increasing at like a fast rate, like day over day, that's usually a pretty bullish signal for like how many people are in this fucking meme coin cult. And it just kept going up. I was like, okay, I'm not going to close my Pepe bags. And I'm checking the Whiff right now. I was looking at it yesterday. It was like under 4K holders. And now it's like almost at 7K today.
Yeah.
So I've just been watching it. I honestly have no idea, bro. But I think if you have BONK that continues to be strong, there's going to be some second meme. I like Guac a lot. I like Whiff a lot too. But if you think on ETH last cycle, we had Doge, which went in crazy to fucking like what 100 billion. SHIB went to fucking 40 billion. Then we had 44. Fucking Floki that also went to some $1 billion market cap.
I think 15 on Floki.
Dude, I don't.
That's fucking crazy. That shit.
I know, dude. I know.
Bro, dog memes. Like the thing is, what's the biggest use case for crypto? It's longing dog memes. Like that it is such a fundamental, inextricable part of this space that if you fade it, you fade it at your own peril. Like
it's internet culture, bro. It's literally internet culture. Exactly. Internet culture.
100%.
There's a price tag on that. I don't know what the price tag is.
Someone pulled up like SHIB / Doge like season charts where someone was tracking their positions in like 15 dog coins in like 2020. They had 1.7 mil and like some like Cub something Inu like and it's probably just gonna do it again, and probably every cycle we get that. Like
bro.
This reminds me of what one of my favorite lines I saw. I don't know where it was, maybe Reddit or from the Wall Street Bets people, but it was we can remain retarded longer than you can remain solvent. Something just like, I mean, and that is just sums up the whole 38 billion for SHIB. Like, bro, crazy.
What's the biggest innovation in crypto in the last 4 years? It's Pepe. Is the first non-dog meme that went absolutely
to break $1 billion.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
We are past the hour. How's your time today, Ansem? I'm getting.
What'd you say?
We're past the hour today, guys. We're coming up on an hour 20. I think a great time to wrap. And with that, we're into dog tokens, guys. End of the year in 14, 15 days. So looking forward to what 2024 brings. Been a hot.
We get a Santa rally.
Yeah,
Santa
Santa came early this year. Admittedly, he came in hotter than I expected. So
yeah, Santa's like, what the fuck is wrong with you guys?
He's not the only one, believe me.
Yeah.
Look, we got to get you back on here. We planted some seeds today. We've given you the DESO pill. You've given us a lot to think about. So we're going to get you back on here. Hopefully, Q1, Q2. And we'll dig back into the bags and see how things are looking post ETF. Approval?
Yeah.
Approval. I think we're going to agree on approval. All right.
Yeah, facts.
Until next time, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure having you. And we got a surprise visit from Rob Levy, the toast.
Yeah, it was great.
Take care, everybody. Whatever you do from now until next time, always play for a position of strength.
Get wrecked.
Take care.